start stream. I hope anyway. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Testing, testing, all of that goodness. Hopefully, and heard. Always the hope, right? Check this out real quick. Cool. Fantastic. Hello, Leonardo. How you doing? Right. Still sending out some of these notifications while everyone is joining us. But you guys want to let me know how you're doing today? If you are well, what's your concern about the new variants that we're getting? I don't know if you guys want to talk about any of that before we get started. I can always edit this stuff out once it's loaded. That way, the people that are watching in the future don't just get the Book of Enoch portion. But let me know how you guys are doing. Here, cool, cool. Posting all this stuff while we were waiting. Thanks. Yeah, they are. They called flies. I'm just out of brain already today. Yeah, I plucked my eyebrows quite thin to try to get more of a like a 50s kind of look that I was doing for my video. I don't know, I just decided to do it. And I thought I can do like a 90s look today, I guess. So these flies, I don't know, when I think of the 90s, one of the things I think of is Aeon Flux. So that's kind of where I was going with that one. Big things with uploads, really been on a roll. Really, thank you for spending so much time with us. It is appreciated. Yeah, absolutely. As long as I got the time and the brain, whatever. Yesterday was weird. I thought, I'm not gonna have a ton of time in the near future. And even though I got this migraine starting up, I still wanted to do it. After I finished, I was so dizzy. I spent a lot of time just lying on the floor. So I'm glad that I was at least able to get that taken care of. Yeah. Second shot today. The COVIDs will just bounce off of you for now. Well, congratulations. Did you get the mix of shots? Like where you got one from one company and then the one from the other company? Is that what you got? Plucking eyebrows sounds like something that make my eyes water. They do. You build up a tolerance, but I don't think it ever gets painless. Yeah. These are on way too late. Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, this is the only time that seems to be somewhat okay for most of the viewers. Yeah. So for some people, I don't know if you saw Richard on the community post, one person said it was too early. They said how like any Australian would be awake at 7. Yeah, so that is unfortunate. I wish I could make it doable for everyone, but like you said, you can always catch it afterwards. Let's see. Add I see. Okay. Zeneca add Astra. Very lovely. Really hard on the job. Yesterday I had some free time, found my geography classes. Cool. I'm sorry that things have been pretty hard at work for you. Hopefully they will get a little bit easier. It's just maybe a lot of extra work, or I don't want to pry too much. I know a lot of people come here wanting sort of a break from life stuff. So I don't want to bog you down, making you think about all this life stuff. Um, but yeah, let's see. So posting this link, I gotta post it to Instagram. Link in bio. I hate that Instagram does not allow links still. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, that you cannot share links. Um You know, if they don't want spam, I get it, but they could do something like YouTube does, where only the creator is allowed to post links. So a bunch of people can't come to my, you know, my account to spam me. I get they could do something like that. I'm not sure what the deal is. I think that's everybody. Cool. All of that good stuff. Alrighty. Hard is fun, don't worry. Oh, okay. Gotcha. It would be much better if it was really a flat earth. It would make time zones irrelevant. I have tried to argue that with them, and you know what they say? Have you guys heard this argument against the flat earth time zones thing, or how they try to explain the time zones? Hello, Seabird. Was that you? Was that the Australia complaint person? Because I know we have another person in Australia as well that shows up to these. So I know it's doable, but not 100%. Working on a farm, goat chewing alfalfa, looked over me out of nowhere and charged. But I still have decent reflexes, even goats have off days. What did you say? Did you say something to the goat? Did you look at it and say, more alfalfa, getting kind of chunky? Like, did you give it like that kind of look? Just judgmental. Why are you judging goats? Why? You guys ever seen the Damascus goat? By the way, it's one of my favorites. I like goats and sheep. I think they're great. Um, Let me show you guys real quick, because I think they're special. They are something. Let me find a good image. Damascus goat. Oh yes. Oh yes. Now let me see if I can actually get this properly situated here. Yeah, you guys can see them. Okay. What do we think? So when they're little, they're not as intense looking, but as they age, they get this interesting look to them. I don't know. I'm very reminded of something like Pan's Labyrinthy from these Damascus goats. Flat Earth. Wait, no. They were saying I wish about the flat Earth because then that way we wouldn't have time zones. Yeah. Goats and trees. Those are, yeah, the acacia tree goats. I do show my geography students the acacia tree goats. I think the goat just made a move. They have a thing about them raising livestock. You get all types. This goat has jowls of doom. My uncle raised chickens. That was his thing. Chickens are great. I think they're great. Turn your cam slightly left. Assume no flipping. I'm out of shot. I'm out of shot? Is that what it is? Let me see. I know I moved this way, I'm out of shot. But this way, am I out of shot? I'm trying to sit like next to the microphone. So that's where it's sort of at, is the microphone. So hopefully that's okay. Is that better? I mean, it looks okay to me, but my eyes are broken. A flat earth would be a beast on the Coriolis effect. Well, we know that what is it, the high satanic cabal Bilderberg group is controlling the weather. Why would we not have time zones on a flat earth? Oh, that's a great question. Just because we would be able to see the sun all at the same time. So if it's sunny in one spot, I guess I'll use this. Here's the earth. Okay. Here's the sun. So if it's sunny over North America, then Australia will also still see the sun. Do you know what I'm saying? So everybody would be able to see the sun at the same time. And then when it's nighttime for everybody. There might be maybe some variation, just how close the sun is to you, because they believe the sun is small. So it might be, 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, I suppose. But they have this idea that there's this thing they call the spotlight sun. And so if the sun is here, they have this idea that people over here can't see the sun here. And it won't be daytime for everybody somehow. And they say, well, because it's like a flashlight it's a spotlight sun. That's what they call it. But of course, if that was true, we would be able to just whip out a telescope and see it, Can't, so that you'd think. But all right. Yeah, so yeah, as Leonardo says, we would all see the sun at the same time. That's the problem. They also can't explain uh what is it? The longer sun, like how the solstices and equinoxes kind of work. They can't explain that either. Doesn't make much sense. On that note, with these great goats, maybe I should put the goats in the thumbnail instead of me. It's a good time. We're gonna go to the dream vision. I like it. What do we think the dream vision means when you hear the dream vision? Oh, I should probably put a point here just so I can know um, to cut the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and do like one of those 3, 2, 1 things. Okay, we got it. Three. Good. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're gonna start the Book of Enoch, and we're gonna do the dream vision in the Book of Enoch. Let me just make sure that you guys are able to see everything here that I'm seeing. Looks a little bit off. Let me just adjust it a bit. There we go. A little bit better. All right. So dream vision. When I always thought of a vision, I always thought it was something that's like a waking experience, not that it was a dream. And so this dream vision, I don't know. Have any of you had any prophetic dreams? By which I mean you dreamt about a thing that would happen and then it actually happened. Anybody had that? Drive vision, dream vision, lots of falling down. Let's see. Surely it would be a strip of light. It would have to be a strip of light. Yeah, I know. Giving me a headache. Giving me a headache too. That's why we got the migraine blockers on. I live relatively close along the equator. When the sun stops rising, falling in 24-hour periods, I'll let you know we can debunk the sphere Earth together. Thank you. Finally. But even if we debunk a spherical Earth, we didn't prove a flat Earth. Had a lot of deja vu, okay, many times. In our language, those are called mubasharat. So can you guys, if you want to share anything, the only thing that has ever happened with me with dreams is I will have a dream about a location where I've never been, and then I'll find myself in that location later, which is very odd. I had that happen in boot camp. And at the time, I was still religious and stuff, so I was like, this is a sign that I'm on the right track, that this is where I'm meant to be, and that was kind of what I had thought. But it happened more than with boot camp, and so every time it happened, I would say, okay, this is a sign I'm doing the right thing for myself. I think everybody wants that kind of sign, right? You make a decision. Sometimes decisions are a lot of times decisions are not clearly the right decision and clearly the wrong decision. They're both pretty bad or they're both pretty good. And you're left wondering, did I make the best or optimal decision? And so something like that is really reassuring, to say, oh yeah, this dream connection, that's telling me I'm on the right path. When really, I mean, it's just me looking into it, you know what I mean? Like deja vu, but I figured life works on a pattern and that's why it happens. Like something being at school or work, or even when I met someone, only to be at a party and meet someone. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, it could happen that way because of patterns. I mean, I was watching a movie yesterday with someone, and we were like, oh yeah, that's Harrison Ford. And then I was like, I don't know if that's Harrison Ford. I think that's the other guy, the one that looks like Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise put together. And the other person was like, what are you talking about? This Harrison Ford? I'm like, I don't know. So we looked it up and it was Dennis Quaid. So, even if you see a dream or have a dream and then you see the person later, I mean, people can look pretty similar. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've had a weird experience in Korea where I thought I was being used as an advertisement. Some photo that I had posted in Korean traditional clothing was being used for some advertisement. I was like, I never did that photo or approved that. And the only reason I knew it wasn't me was because the person's eyeliner was different than my eyeliner. And I thought, oh, that can't be me. So even I was confused, seeing somebody that I thought looked like me. Let's see. Hello, Disthroned. I'm glad you're able to catch us today. Let's see. I've dreamed of places or people in situations, and then it happens the same way. I think my brain is creating a false memory. That can also happen as well. I dreamt my moto accident long ago before it happened. I've also had location relationship dreams that give you deja vu since. I suppose probability, 8 billion people on the planet. One is bound to dream about something that might happen in real life. Right. And it's, if it's your motorcycle, I think that it's pretty, I feel like if I drove a motorcycle, I would be, um, pretty, pretty worried. You know what I mean? So for me to have like a dream based on getting into an accident, I feel like that's something that I would dream about. So if the accident happened, then I feel like that's not. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's a high likelihood. I had a dream where there was a break-in at my house, and when I woke up, I could hear someone was in my home. They took off when they heard me upstairs. Right, and that could be one of those dreams where you hear something while you're asleep, and then it becomes part of the dream, which is always weird to me. I've seen my doppelganger, poor Sod. Right, that's how I felt about her. There is a whole cottage industry of celebrity lookalikes. I think people look more similar than we generally like to admit, because racism. Yeah, I remember I had a Mandarin teacher. She made that comment. She's like, "Yeah, but you know how it is. All white people look alike." And she was talking to, mostly white students. And they laughed because, it made them realize how racist they were for saying stuff like that. And it was interesting. Let's see. Had a dream I had a deep conversation with my mother, only for it to happen years later. It just happened. Had no play in the event. I never liked being on a motorcycle, driver or passenger, not for me. Gotcha. I don't have a twin as far as I can tell. I think the world is just about able to deal with me. Singular, exactly. Can you imagine more? I think I don't know, maybe we could do alternating videos if there was like a twin of me. But what's the important thing here, right? Is none of you wrote it down and said this is prophecy, right? You took your dream or your vision or your deja vu and you were just like, huh, interesting. And then that was it. None of you said, you know what, I'm going to tell other people how to live based on this dream vision. Hello, Chris. Sleep well, Richard. Have a good night. Hope this was a little bit fun for you at the very least. All right, let me just double check that this is okay for you guys to read. Maybe we are a little off. This was more formatted for my classes. Actually, let's do it the other way. Do this one small and make this one bigger. Because this is the important stuff, right? I think so. Turn off this text. Cool. Make it big. Cool. Too big. This is a poorly, it's not, not poorly, but it's just not formatted the same way because the other ones are more in a column. This is more like across the entire page. But I guess if you're just listening, not really, neither here nor there. An army of Lee Lemons, that would be a perfect coup anywhere. Media, army, religion, medicine, they're all disciplines covered. Right, that would be a good time. Things with the pandemic here, just because that was asked. If you want to ask more in depth, you can ask on Discord. Basically, we increased the levels. We're at level 4, or at least we were. I don't know if we still are. Double check your mask, and even entering some stores now. So instead of just entering having your temperature checked and then making sure that you have your mask on, now they're doing the QR code check as well. So that way, if there's anyone is found to have COVID while you were at the shop at the same time, then you end up getting a notification. It's not for everything. It's not like for small shops or anything like that. But like the larger supermarkets, yeah. This one's landscape rather than portrait. Basically, so we're gonna get some good time here. QR check, yes. So we're gonna, I guess, start the Enoch thing. So I'll cut all this for the live stream upload. Since you guys are interested in it. Yeah, we get a QR code that we scan. It's connected to our phone, which is connected to everything. Um, there's like 20 levels of security, so everything here is very secure. And so when you go into a place, you scan your QR code. And so that just means if you are found to have COVID later, or somebody else was found to have COVID later, um, while you were in that location at the same time as that person who was found to be positive, then you also need to get checked. That's all. So, very helpful, very cool. I know this is what it's like to have technology used for medical stuff. It's very helpful. Back into lockdown again. I don't know about lockdown, but just more, yeah. We have a similar system in Australia. That's great. Here in the US, they're not even using masks anymore. And it's like, oh, meanwhile, super high, contraction and death rate. What? I wonder if the two are related. At least the flu season has gone down, or like the amount of people getting the flu and dying from the flu has gone down a lot with all the masks. So, that should sell people on the efficacy of masks, but unfortunately, it doesn't. Does anybody have any other questions about Korea or the COVID thing before we get started? Just to make sure. I'm not back in the US. No, 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 no. No. I'm in Korea. I'm not going back to the US anytime soon. Mm-mm. I said I heard back in the US. Like, I have family and stuff in the US. I did a video call with them while I was out once, and I'm just wearing my mask, and they're like, "You're still wearing a mask there?" And I'm like, "You're not?" So that was, yeah, that was a bit odd. Did I say here in the US? Oh, I heard in the US. Maybe that sounded like here in the US. Sometimes my words don't complete. Didn't mean to derail the convo. Just been a while since you. That's fine. You can join us in the Discord as well, so that way you can ask all these questions to your heart's content. Um, it's okay to derail it before we get started. At least it's okay to do it then. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't know why it does a. It lets me create a link very easily, unless I'm doing a live stream, and then the link is very clunky. How that does that. There it is. Moving to South Korea for a year. It's pretty awesome. If you want, I can talk to them and give them some tips if they need it. Very divided in the US, people choosing to wear masks. It's not getting better anytime soon. That's what I've heard. I rewatched the movie Contagion yesterday, and there's this scene where right after this blogger was taking this cure, this whatever cure, it wasn't approved by the CDC or anything, and then he didn't die from it. A bunch of people had stormed, or like they had lined up in this pharmacy, and the pharmacy's like, okay, well, we only can give out 50 doses of this because we don't have any more. And there was a bunch of people in line, and so they ended up attacking everybody and like knocking people over, smashing stuff in the pharmacy so they could make sure to get this unproven cure. And I was like, wow, this is, yeah, and it was just like, this is how predictable it is. This is how predictable it is. And yet, just can't. The account about 4 people that have been translated in the Bible: Enoch, Elijah, Elisha, and Jesus, although Paul is said to have gone to the second heaven. There's Ah, I see what you mean by translated. Um, Also, if you're Catholic, they believe Mary was taken up into heaven as well. Yeah. Which it doesn't say anything about it. It's just part of the church tradition because they're like, well, of course, it's the mother of Jesus. Of course, that she wouldn't suffer a death. Catholics also believe Mary never had any type of sex at all. And when you try to say, well, it says that Jesus had brothers and sisters, or brothers at least, they'll say, well, Joseph was quite older. He already had kids from his previous wife. So Jesus's brothers are really his stepbrothers. And it's just like, why is it so important that, like, I get it, the virgin birth is very important to the theology itself, but why is Mary never having intercourse? Like, why is that so important? Like, the thing is that Jesus is already born, virgin birth, whatever. Let her go on and have a normal life. You know what I mean? So, and that's it, right? Could solve a math problem in the morning, told him this, and I know he dreams similar. Oh, okay, sorry. It looks like you started earlier. Used to have a mentor, and there are some people that say to sleep on it because some people do receive some kind of extra information towards dreams. Let's see. Is Mary's Assumptive Rapture the same as translation? I don't know, but I'm aware of the Feast of Assumption, but that's about it. I mean, I would lump them together just because it's like physical body going away. You know what I mean? Or going up into this heaven. My guess it would be because they want to canonize her. It could be. Mother of God can't probably can't expect a normal life. Yeah, I mean, if you read any of those gospels of like when Jesus was a child, he seems to be quite a difficult child to deal with. Could you imagine that, assuming everything is true and you got like this god boy and he's able to, as curious and dumb as kids can be, you get like this him being like a dumb kid but he has powers, that's pretty intense. All right, that being said, we're going to be doing the hand wavy thing just so I know to myself around 27:30 to go ahead and edit the video. All right. So, we are in the dream visions for our good friend Enoch, and we're going to be talking about the first dream vision on the deluge. If you guys are not familiar with that term, that's going to be the Great Flood. That's what they're talking about. And now, my son Methuselah. Love that name, by the way. I don't know why. I always thought it was a great name. I will show thee all my visions which I have seen, recounting them before thee. Two visions I saw before I took a wife, and the one was quite unlike the other. The first when I was learning to write, the second before I took thy mother, when I saw a terrible vision. And regarding them, I prayed to the Lord. I had laid me down in the house of my grandfather, Mahalalel, not as great as Methuselah. Mahalalel, I don't know, is my opinion. When I saw the vision on how the heaven collapsed and was borne off and fell to the earth. That's pretty intense, right? The sky is falling. Sounds very apocalyptic. And when it fell to the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss. And the mountains were suspended on mountains, and the hills sank down on hills, and the high trees were rent from their stems. Rent in this case is like wretched or torn, not to pay rent, and hurled down and sunk in the abyss. This, we've talked about Enoch's use of like the repetitive words, the snozberries taste like snozberries kind of stuff that he says. But this, it's appearing that it's like stuff is collapsing into this abyss, and there's I'm almost getting like everything being sucked down, and so you're getting like hills like crashing into hills and mountains crashing into mountains. um these trees are being twisted and everything, so not a great time. Okay. probably pretty scary to see something like this. So he decides to scream out and says the earth is destroyed. Because remember, Enoch is very dramatic. He's a drama guy. And my grandfather Mahalalel waked me as I lay near him and said unto me, why dost thou cry so, my son? And why dost thou make such lamentation? So what are you screaming about, kid? And I recounted to him the whole vision which I had seen, and he said to me, a terrible thing hast thou seen, my son, and of grave moment is thy dream vision as to the secrets of all the sin of the earth. It must sink into the abyss and be destroyed with a great destruction. And now, my son, arise and make petition to the Lord of glory, since thou art a believer, that a remnant may remain on the earth. And sorry, I'm losing my spot here. And that he may not destroy the whole earth. My son, from heaven all this will come upon the earth, and upon the earth there will be a great destruction. Now, let's think about that for a second. We don't know how old Enoch is. He's sleeping next to his father or grandfather. He is younger, so this is before he got married. Not really given an age on when he gets married, but it's before he gets married. So he's at least a young man, could be a teenager, could be an older child. Has a nightmare. And then he's told, yeah, man, that's totally going to happen. Yeah, you better pray to God that at least something stays on this planet. I mean, imagine that. How many of you had that growing up? Because I know I did. If I heard a noise or something when I was younger and trying to sleep, oh, that's demons. They're coming to get you. You better pray. They can get you if you have sin in your heart and stuff. And I'm like, 3 or 4 or 5 years old. I mean, this is a scary thing. So imagine that. Imagine waking up from a really super frightening nightmare and then being told, yeah, bro, that's totally going to happen by a trusted adult in your life. How and how does Mahalalel know this, right? How does he know, oh yeah, totally, man, you're like prophetic dreams, even though this is the only one you've ever had at this time. You know, if it was like a history of, oh yeah, this is that kid of mine, and every 10 days he'll have this dream that comes true. Okay, maybe there's some backstory we're missing here, but just imagine that he's having such a terrifying nightmare. He screams out loud in the middle of his nightmare, so loud that it wakes up Mahalalel, and Mahalalel's like, yeah, man, no, it's not just a nightmare, that's reality. Just horrifying, absolutely horrifying. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Video games prepared us for zombie outbreaks. I blame the media. That's true. For sure. Jesus had a little look-alike brother born from Mary and the Joseph, the foster father. Yeah, Joseph really was his foster father. All right. Methuselah lived 969 years from the Genesis account. There are a lot of these old ages, and that wasn't really unusual in some of these old like Sumerian and Babylonian legends to have like a king or some kind of legendary character that lives really, really long. Were the years measured in 365 days back then? They were, chemo. We found that actually 364 days in the previous live stream. But again, it's more of this these people, and again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a legendary character. It could also be like a really popular king or really powerful king, and they would say, oh yeah, he lived for like 500 years, and they're just talking about like how great this person was. It's ascribing like super strength. We would say that about some character. They were exceptionally kind. They were unusually giving. It was almost like this person was like an angel on earth. They were such a kind soul, that kind of thing, where you just add these attributes to a person that aren't actually necessarily true. Even the kindest person's going to have some bad days and have some bad thoughts and violent thoughts, you know what I mean? So to say that somebody was so pure and so kind and so giving, or that somebody was so strong, they were beyond normal human strength in every possible capacity. Um, it's something we kind of say about people anyway. So this is one of those things they did used to say, that the person's age was beyond normal human capacity. So did Enoch actually live 969 years? We don't know, but we do have evidence that the idea of an exceptionally long aged person was not uncommon. Let's see. Enoch has not fainted yet. I know. Maybe it's because he's younger at this time and he's got some kind of wherewithal. Or he's telling a story that about never happened. Maybe that's it. We know the story is true, or that Enoch believes it's true if he faints. If he doesn't, then we know it's not true. Mahalalel basically said, "Man up." Yeah, like, hey man, that's gonna happen. Dry your tears. Pray to God. Mary was kept in a monastery for 14 years to protect her virginity. Yeah, we're going to be doing some of the infancy gospels after this. About dreams, my parents never said you have to pray way. They always said it was just a dream. That's great. Whenever I had dreams like that, they would either say it's the devil or it's demons. Are you doing something? You need to pray for forgiveness that you're having these types of nightmares. Um, or if it was like you know, God had conquered this thing. Like I remember a dream that I told my mother. It was weird. I had a dream as like a young child, like I'm 6 years old or something, and I don't remember the dream, but I remember telling her about the dream and just how she responded. I was so frightened in the dream. I was going to the bathroom in the dream, and on my way to the bathroom, the lights wouldn't turn on, and I could hear like laughter and stuff. And then when I got to the bathroom, there was a demon or something in there. And then like an angel came out of the toilet, which is why I remember telling her about this because it's such a silly concept, and like destroyed all of the darkness and killed all the demons. And then I felt safe. And she was like, this is the most like wonderful kind of dream. And she thought it was so, not prophetic, but very, spiritual warfare is a big thing for Pentecostals. And it was like, okay, these are the types of dreams I should be having. But I was still scared. I still thought it was a very scary dream. I wasn't relieved in any way. I was still very scared of this dream. That's why I told it to her. I was scared. I was like, "Oh, I had a nightmare." And she's like, "No, this is great." Let's see. Um they're coming for you, man. Best friend, comforting buddy. That saw a huge nightmare. I know, right? It's not a good time. I knew Lee. She lives until 1,000 years of age. This could be how ancient legends are born. Oh, absolutely. It's not necessarily from totally fiction. It's more likely a real person that became um like almost a demigod through storytelling. Let's see. The inexactness of the calendar is one of the best arguments against religion. It's very inconvenient that the seasons will drift if not for a leap year. Their heart was so huge, and he lived to be 549 years because of it. Right, right. Or he died early because of that congenital heart disease. Plus, increasing the age of important people or leaders makes it keeping of track of history easier. Yes. Um, Mary was 14 when Joseph the widower was chosen to wed Mary. That's cool, hero. That's great. But why are we talking about this? Let's see. Dreams are always interesting and intriguing. Yay, toilet angel. That's right. The toilet angel saved me, and now I'm here to tell the legend. Sounds like you lived in the Bible Belt. I did not actually. I didn't. We lived in like and that's what really made us more insular, is that everybody around us was like these satanic worldly liberals. So that's fun. All right, let's go ahead and go to verse 10. After that, I arose and prayed and implored and besought. Oh, I know this feeling. This is Enoch crying, shaking, just weeping uncontrollably, asking God, please, please spare us, or at least don't destroy everything, please. I know this type of prayer. And I wrote down my prayer for the generations of the world, and I will show everything to thee, my son Methuselah. And when I have gone forth and seen the heaven and the sun rising in the east and the moon setting in the west and a few stars, just a few, not all of them, just a few stars, and the whole earth and everything as he has known it in the beginning, then I blessed the Lord of judgment and extolled him because he made the sun go forth from the windows of the east, and he ascended and rose on the face of the heaven and sent out a traversing path, blah, blah, blah. This is that stuff for those of you that haven't joined us before, very quickly. This is the old belief of the earth being flat with a dome. And so Enoch in previous chapters has just talked about that he was able to see the workings of this. The sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the rain, and different types of precipitation, all of those have a will, but they follow the rules of God, and God puts them on a route. And so to get access into the dome, there are windows that open up, and the sun comes in, does its thing, and then passes, instead of setting, it passes out of the other window opposite of it. And then the moon does the same thing, the stars do the same thing, the rains will do that. When it gets windy, when it gets snowy, all of that is like the dome opening, and then these characters enter the stage, really is kind of how we can think about that. I'm going to go ahead and set up the next chapter. Here we go. This is more like it. Just to see what we're looking at here. This over a little bit. Okay. That down. Alrighty. See what you guys are saying in the chat. Please elaborate on satanic worldly liberals. You can definitely ask me about that in the Discord, or maybe a video in the future. But it's just people that weren't at our church, really. That's it. Even being a different type of Christian, that makes you a satanic worldly liberal. Not New York City, no. Let's see. I once had a dream where every time I touched someone, their head exploded, blood shot out of their necks, they like a busted fire hydrant. Seconds after it finished, all the stuff would get sucked back in, and then the head reformed like nothing happened. That sounds terrible. My dreams, I hate my dreams. I've got all of my senses. I can smell, I can taste, I can touch stuff, and I have really bad nightmares. So I just, like, the thing you described just sounds like something I would have a dream about. Like, they're very not restful, and so when I wake up, I'm like, panic attack already, you know, just not good. Let's see. That's him happy because the night passed and now he feels safe from the nightmare. Yeah. Sounds like Enoch was full of it. Full of what? Because I feel like he's full of a belief, a faith that he has these prophetic dreams, you know. That's why he wrote it down. I don't think that Enoch had lied about any of this. And that's what a lot of the apologists seem to think about, like critiques of some of the theology, is this idea that, oh, we're saying that the gospel writers were liars, we're saying that the biblical authors are liars. No, I mean, they could totally believe everything they wrote. That doesn't make it true, though, right? And so I think that Enoch really did believe that, and he really probably believed he was trying to help people. It would be helpful if the Bible came with illustrations of the earliest versions. It really would, you know? Especially Enoch was like, oh, I was learning to write. Well, son, you can draw. The text mentions the sun rising in the east, and then it sets in the east. Is that a typo? I ask because I think the translator meant to put west instead of east. I saw that it was in he mentioned the moon, I thought it was. Let me just double check here. The sun is rising in the east and the moon is setting in the west. And yeah, that's what it's saying. So it's not the sun that's setting in the east. Maybe I misspoke. Oh, here it goes. He had made the sun go forth from the windows of the east. No, it still says that it starts in the east. So perhaps I misspoke. That definitely happens. But yeah, it's the sun and the moon basically are still doing that. Flat Earth, I think he's definitely making stuff up. There's a difference though between believing that this makes the most sense and lying. Lying means you know it's not true, but you say it anyway. So there's like a motive there. There's a knowledge and then a deliberate misdirection. That's a lie. So Enoch was mistaken for sure, but I don't think he was lying. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. I don't think I have the sense of smell in dreams, but I can definitely feel pain in them, and I've had bad dreams fairly often. Yeah, feeling pain sucks for sure in dreams. Smell and taste is not good when there's a lot of like dead stuff. It's just not great. Actually, in the dream, it was scary the first few times, and then the fourth or fifth time is just kind of weird. I would agree, it sounds pretty weird. The moon setting in the west. I think they meant the moon rises in the west. Yeah, maybe. Does it say that it's. Just double checking again. And the moon setting in the west. Maybe they meant the sun. The sun rising in the east and the sun setting in the west, or maybe they meant the sun, the moon as well. But they always talk about it as if the moon doesn't appear at the same time as the sun. You know what I mean? Like, they had to notice that the moon was not only out at night, right? They had to. I don't think any biblical are liars. I think they just didn't understand how complex our mind can work and misinterpreted what was acceptable to society at the time. Right. Yeah. Lying implies that they knew the truth and that they deliberately distorted it. See you later, Disthrone. Have fun. Let's see. I hear the King James Version is the only correct version. Yes. And I'm sure we would have somebody. I hope that person doesn't come back to try to argue that. Maybe we can argue the Coptic Bible is the only one that's right. So now Enoch is still blessing. Enoch spends a lot of time telling us how he keeps blessing the holy and great one, right? And I spake with the breath of my mouth. I hope so. Not with the breath of somebody else's mouth, right, Enoch? And with the tongue of flesh, which God has made for the children with the flesh of men, that they should speak wherewith. And he gave them a breath and a tongue and a mouth that they should speak wherewith. But what about people that, like, can't speak? What was the message there, right? Blessed be thou, O Lord, King. Oh, this is the prayer that Enoch said he wrote down from Methuselah. Great and mighty in thy greatness. There he is again. Lord of the whole creation of the heaven, King of kings, and God of the whole world. We said King of Kings a lot in church. And now I feel like that is just annoying. You know, it's just such a repetitive thing that we're getting here. And thy power and kingship and greatness abide forever and ever, and throughout all generations thy dominion, and all the heavens are thy throne forever, and the whole earth thy footstool forever and ever. Again, this is like king of the narcissists, right? Not king of kings, just like king narcissist. Yahweh the narcissist. Every time you talk to him, that's all you can say is you're awesome, everything sucks except for you, but everything's actually great because you're perfect and you made it, but nothing's as great as you. I mean, the earth is like a footstool to you to just like set your feet. We're nothing. We can't compare. Also, we're perfect because you created us this way, but also we're nothing. You know, I mean, it's hard to read this because not only is it, I mean, it's pretty repetitive. We've heard Enoch say this a lot in this book. But it's kind of just sad, right? That people really believe this, that I used to believe this, that this is a person or this is a deity, a concept that's worth worshiping. Is this super insecure, angry, jealous guy? You know, what a jerk this guy is. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. So Enoch, okay, so then that leaves the question, why was Enoch seeing a flat earth? Well, that's what he believed, you know? I was explaining this to somebody in Korea who had a dream that was really based on a cultural concept about being buried near water in Korea. And we just had to talk about that. And so I had mentioned to him that's a superstition about your like being able to be not at rest if you're buried in water or near water, especially since there are absolutely cultures that prefer to bury in water, and there's sacred rivers and there's sacred lakes and there's all kinds of sea burials and stuff for sailors. My grandfather had a burial at sea, for example. So this was, I'm like, this is just very cultural. And he said, well, what do you guys do when you have those dreams where your ancestors come and tell you to move their body? And then I was like, oh, yeah, so that's just a dream. Dreams are formed in these ways, and we're still not 100% sure why we dream, blah, blah, blah. But we know that we take, information from around us, and that ends up being reinterpreted as a dream. So people who don't have that cultural superstition just don't have those dreams. And he was very surprised by this. And so this idea that Enoch is having about the flat earth, this is not Enoch's idea. This is an idea that's been around for a while. And Enoch is like, yes, I saw this to verify that thing that we all believe. It would be like if I had a dream about going into space and then I turned and looked and saw the sphere of the earth, you know. That doesn't mean that because I had the dream that proves or disproves that the earth is spherical. It just means that I believe the earth is spherical, that the culture believes the earth is spherical, and that's why it ended up as a spherical object in my dream. And so Enoch is having these visions based on the culture that he's in. That's all it is. That's a good question, though. Let's see. All the ideologies, if somebody buys into it, they're not lying when they discuss it. Right. The newer King James version is out now. Yes, there is an updated King James. So we are footstools. We are not footstools. The earth itself is, well, because it's flat, so it's a perfect footstool here. King of Kings, simply listing the hierarchical order of ascension that every monarch land approved of. Divine ascension, that every monarch land approved of. Right. I'm just saying this idea that he's still the king of Narcissus. But I just, it was just a comment about how we have a lot of this repetitive use of language that Enoch does. And then I had mentioned earlier in a different live stream about some of my students will say, okay, students, so, I mean, how would you guys define government? The things that govern. Like, okay. And that's kind of how Enoch writes. No wonder God has guards and naps all the time. Endless praise is so dull, so just nap and let Jesus or the Holy Ghost deal with it. Fair. And he probably has all those guards because he thinks that people are out to kill him, even though he can't die, right? He can't be harmed. But he's just like, oh, I'm so important that they're going to come get me. This is very narcissist. The burial mounds in South Korea are interesting. I got to see a bunch of them when I was in the country. Absolutely. They are kind of falling out of favor, though, just due to land, like population density. So the cremation is a lot more popular. All right. For thou hast made, and thou rulest all things, and nothing is too hard for thee. Wisdom departs not from the place of thy throne, nor turns away from thy presence. And thou knowest, and seest, and hearest everything. And there is nothing hidden from thee, for thou seest everything, except apparently the other angels had to be informed by the humans. So the humans informed the angels, and the angels informed informed Yahweh that the Watchers had gone off and done this thing. So for an all-seeing guy, he certainly misses a lot. Let's see. And now the angels of thy heavens are guilty of trespass, and upon the flesh of men abideth thy wrath until the great day of judgment. That's the Watchers thing I mentioned. And now, O God and Lord and great King, I implore and beseech thee to fulfill my prayer, to leave me a prosperity on earth and not destroy all the flesh of man, and to make the earth without inhabitants, so there should be an eternal destruction. I wonder if I should read this in like preacher voice. You guys know what I'm talking about? And now, my Lord, destroy from the earth the flesh which has aroused thy wrath, but the flesh of righteousness and uprightness establish as a plant of the eternal seed, and hide not thy face from the prayer of thy servant, O Lord. Which one do you guys prefer? Which type of reading? Um, so again, for most of this prayer, half of this prayer, 60% of this prayer, this is just, God, you're awesome. Oh my gosh, you're so awesome. You're like the awesomest, awesome guy. You're so awesome. That being said, please don't kill everything. And the humans that you do leave behind, make sure they're my lineage. Like, okay, Enoch. What makes you so great, Enoch, that your DNA is the one that gets preserved? But that's the prayer that he's giving to Methuselah, and it makes sense that he's giving it to Methuselah, right? Because it's his lineage as well, so it's one of his descendants, and it's like, hey, keep this prayer in the family, so that way Yahweh will continue to spare us. I'm going to go ahead and set up the format here just for this, for us to see it. Let's see. Oh, maybe that's easier. And then I will check what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see. Gnosticism answers a lot of this. Yes, I mean I agree. You know, but that's all part of just some, I mean there's Christian answers for this too. You know what I mean? It's not like Gnosticism is the only interpretation for it. All seeing except when napping. Maybe that was it. Maybe he just like took some sleeping pills, just was like, hey guys, I feel like just passing out for a while. It's amazing how much this sounds like the Old Testament. It's because it was written around that time period. Yeah. So all of the stuff, like Enoch knew all of the, you know, other theology for sure. Just talk normal. Okay. Do you find it odd that, completely aside from excessiveness of praise, the praise is so generic? Only an egoist could enjoy that. I'd hate it. Yes, that's why I said it's such a narcissist thing, and it's like constant praise even when the praise doesn't make sense, which is why I was saying, you know, we are nothing and we're trash and we're your footstool, but also it's perfect because you created it. You know, so not only are you better than us, but in the same breath I'm also going to say, but everything that you made really is perfect, you know. So is it so perfect that it should be on par with you as a perfect being, or is it like nothing to you and it's just a piece of furniture to you because you are the most perfect thing, you know what I mean? So which is it? Enoch finishes saying, "Punish everyone you need to, but forgive someone, please." Yeah, forgive my guy, so that you can put like the emoji with like the shiny eyes. You know, I know that everybody's super terrible and we all deserve eternal punishment, but can you please make sure that at least my family is safe? Thank you. I mean, okay, Enoch. I don't know, Enoch. You guys know what I'm thinking, Enoch. Let's see. Christianity really is all about keeping God so bored God stays asleep to not destroy humanity. I think it's just to feed his ego, because that's the heaven to look forward to according to this theology, which we've seen in this book as well. Um, it's just to praise constantly. It's hard to imagine not having technology, struggling to survive day after day, and thinking there's an all powerful God that can bless or destroy you. Weirder now that I've deconverted. Absolutely. And then teaching history, you know, I try to bring that up to the students that, you know, these ideas that people had in the past, this was their best attempt. You know, this wasn't that they were stupid. Intellectually, they had the same capacity as us. Like if Plato was born today, he could be as educated as you are. Um, and in a lot of things, like he could learn to use the internet, for example. Not saying that Plato was uneducated, but that he could learn to use the internet and totally understand GPS and all of this stuff that we understand. Any of the ancient civilizations, same thing, that they believed the earth was flat. If they were born today, they would totally understand how we calculated the earth is spherical, how we've observed the earth is spherical. They would get it. So they're not intellectually inferior to us. They just didn't have the information, you know? And, we sometimes, just as a way to get talking in the class, I ask, what are some beliefs that you guys have that maybe aren't true, but you still kind of believe it, And so sometimes the students, they do say stuff, and of course we don't want to laugh at each other, but sometimes the student laughs at themselves, just how silly their belief might be. Um, that's yeah, it's a good time. I'm just thinking about the reason I'm kind of laughing is sorry about that. I was just thinking about the time I told the students, if you want to leave a minute early, make me laugh. Tell me a joke. And one of the students said, "Teacher, I think you look really pretty today." I was just like, but I laughed, so move along, child. Let's see. So the King of Kings has to be reminded to spare Enoch's lineage. Yes, not only reminded but convinced, right? Convinced. Oh, well, I was going to destroy everything, Enoch, but since you made this, petition to me, okay, not only you will be spared but your descendants as well. Like, okay. So much for the will of God, right? Like Hitchens used to say, religion was our first attempt, but because it was our first, it was our worst. We can understand that today. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do tell them about this idea that, we're more inclined to believe stuff. Because we do talk about religions in the class, but we also talk about cultural stuff like in geography class. And so we talk about superstitions, and that's a lot less of a heated topic. But of course, the way that we approach religion in class is purely academic. So it's not like a heated topic in the class. But when we're talking about like the geography stuff, yeah, we talk about these superstitions, and some of the students don't even realize it's a superstition. A new one for you guys is air conditioning-itis. That is a belief in South Korea that if you have the air conditioning on and it's more than 5 or 6 degrees Celsius different from the outside temperature, it will eventually make you sick. Now, of course, if you're not cleaning your aircon and you got some nasty stuff in there and it blows into your house and you get it in your lungs, yeah, you're not going to feel great, but that's like a disease or a mold or something. It's not the air conditioner. So some of the students have a belief that the air conditioner has bad air in it. And I have to explain that's not the case. We don't have to open the windows when the aircon is on. That kind of defeats the purpose of having the air conditioner on. And they're just like, really? And they have no idea. That's one of the newer beliefs, by the way, newer superstitions. Um, let's see what you guys say. The eater of socks is real. I don't know what you're referencing, so I did miss that. They ask about spirits. Some of them do. Some of them do. We just talk about, well, this is what some people believe, and, do we have any scientific evidence of it? Not at this time. Does it mean it's not true? No, it just means we don't have like a scientific justification to believe it. But there's some people that believe it for other reasons, and they're welcome to it. That's kind of how we talk about it. If looks could kill you, be a weapon of mass destruction, miss. Okay, so that's your other joke today. Okay, well you can leave early too. How about that? All right, that's right. We're superstitious by nature. We certainly are. Do you guys have any superstitions that you want to share, and it's totally not true, but you're like, I'm still kind of believe it anyway. Like you just like I know it's like a waste of money, but I still buy it, something along those lines. Um I'm trying to think. One I always have to talk myself out of buying is like juice, because there's just no reason to drink juice. But like fresh juice that's like got celery and beets and stuff, I really like those kind of savory juices. I always have to talk myself out of it because there's really like, we have this idea, oh, it's really healthy, right? And that's why I'm like, oh, I'll go drink it because it's healthy. No, it's not. It's just better for me to eat the celery, right? And so I always have to talk myself out of it. Very silly, I think. Yeah. Otherwise, I love like green juice. I just love it, and I'm like, yeah, like premium health queen right here, you know. And then I'm like, sugar water with a little bit of vitamins thrown in. Probably wasn't my best purchase. Probably should have just bought some water, you know. Karma. I literally keep a tally score. Love it. Superstition about not using urinals. I have not had to use a urinal, but I feel like I would get that. Yeah. Artificial air circulation, viral spread fear is pretty common. That's different. So we're talking like back in, I think the earliest post I found was from 2016. But this idea that the coldness of the air conditioner and the fact that it's unnatural air, that's gonna make your body condition goes down and it makes you sick. For me, in my case, the air conditioners here, I mean, maybe it is true everywhere, but air conditioners here are dehumidifiers as well, because it's super humid. Like right now, there's no aircon going on. I don't have an air conditioner in this room. You guys have no idea how badly I'm sweating. And this will, um, so having that like dry air, I do sometimes like my nose will get really dry. It might start bleeding a little bit. So that of course is going to make you more susceptible to getting an infection like a sinus infection. So sure that happens, but it's not by virtue of the air conditioner existing as like a function of it. You know what I mean? Let's see. Whenever I'm not convinced by something that whenever I'm convinced that something is not true, I stop believing it, but I don't know how many superstitions I still have because I don't see what's wrong with them. Right, right. That's how my students are. They're not superstitious once they know that, oh, this isn't true. Um, they get it. But yeah, they're just like, I didn't know that was a superstition. Let's see. If I create a robot overlord army, I will specifically punish anyone who tries to praise like this. The people who tease playfully are my chosen ones. There you go. So you're gonna have like you're a shady deity. You like the insults. That's good. I won't buy certain colors. Gotcha. Pseudoscience based beliefs are not quite the same as supernatural beliefs. So believing in goblins is not the same as believing in vague health benefits. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I think this would be better for us to have like a follow up live stream just to talk about superstitions. I think that'd be better for us to do that. Because we are getting a bit derailed. And I do apologize. I'll put like a timestamp, I think, for anybody in the future watching this. Alrighty. So we're getting the second dream vision of Enoch, the history of the world to the founding of the messianic kingdom. And after this, I saw another dream, and I will show the whole dream to thee, my son. And Enoch lifted up his voice and spake to his son Methuselah, to thee, my son, I will speak. Hear my words, incline thine ear to the dream vision of thy father. Okay, do we really? Come on, just say, come here, boy. I'm gonna tell you something. you know? Why do we gotta dress it up like this, right? Hey, come here. I want to tell you the story. Yeah, that's all you need. Before I took thy mother Edna, I saw a vision on my bed, and behold, a bull came forth from the earth, and that bull was white. And after it came forth a heifer. For those of you that aren't familiar with this, bull is the boy cow and heifer is the girl cow. Okay, just in case you guys are not familiar with that. And along with this latter came forth two bulls, one of them black and the other red. And the black bull gored the red one. This is like taking his horns, stabbing him through that, and just like slaughtering him by that violent stabbery. And pursued him over the earth. And thereupon I could no longer see that red bull. But the black bull grew and that heifer went with him, and I saw that many oxen proceeded from him, which resembled and followed him. And that cow, the first one, went from the presence of the first bull in order to see the red one, but found him not, and lamented with great lamentation over him and sought him. What is this, Cain and Abel? And I looked till that first bull came to her and quieted her, and from that time onwards she cried no more. And after that she bore another white bull, and after him she bore many bulls and black cows. And I saw in my sleep that the white bull, likewise grow and become a great white bull. So it's a white bull, and now it becomes a great white bull. And from him proceeded many white bulls, and they resembled him. And then they beget many white bulls, which resembled them, one following the other, even many. Wow, genetics, right? You ever say a word so often it just sounds weird? That's where I am now with bull. So that's it. I love this. I love that this is the history of the world to the founding of the Messianic kingdom, and this is what we get. You know, there's a bunch of bulls walking around, and they beget more bulls. Okay, fantastic. Obviously, this is more of those dreams that are going to require interpretation. What do you guys think this means? FYI. Not FYI, just out of curiosity. God, he's so dramatic. Yes. Imagine being told to a crowd at night lit by a fire. It probably helps keep the audience attention to be dramatic, so I forgive him for that, for sure. But I think he's just like writing this to Methuselah and then writing that he spoke to Methuselah. I think there's an overlap between those who are more likely to accept pure faith-based supernatural claims and those willing to accept marketing promise to appeal more wishful thinking. Motivated reasoning is a powerful drug. I agree, and while I'm waiting for the rest of you guys to answer what you think that this interpretation, or how you think this dream could be interpreted, I will respond to that. Some of these marketing claims, especially for things like MLMs, will actually use specifically like faith-based familiar systems. So the type of language they'll use sounds very similar. Yeah. And so it just kind of I guess it's like using the machinery that's already there, you know, using the logic structure that you already have in your brain. That's kind of what they exploit. White is purity, so a lot of pure bulls running around. Okay. What do we got as well? Targeted language. I think this says confusing as Hades. Okay. This one, like I said, I really was like, this looks like it's Cain and Abel, you know. And Cain, the black bull, is going off into, what was it, the land of Nod, I think is where he settled. No, the land of Canaan. Where am I thinking the land of Nod? The land of Nod is in the Bible. So he goes and he has people there. You know, he reproduces. Not sure if there's other people that are on the planet already. And with the story of the human origins, we're really just focusing on one family, but there's already other people on the earth. Or if he took his sister with him, and so that's where they had founded this town. But the Black Bull, I feel like, is Cain, and so like his lineage after him. The Red Bull is probably Abel. We don't see any more Red Bulls. And then Adam, the first white bull, comes to Eve, and then they have more and more and more kids. But then they have bulls, white bulls. Sorry, the first bull. So that is bulls, that we're getting bulls and black cows. And then we have the white bull. So he's making more white bulls. This could be something like believers. So those people become like the white bull. Could be a lot of different interpretations from this. Does seem to have like a mark of Cain sort of theme to it. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it is a belief in some Christian denominations that Cain had received a mark that made his skin black, and this is where some of that church supported racism, but not necessarily biblically supported racism, came from. Yeah. There were people before Adam and Eve, so he might have mated with one of them. Yeah, there are some. It's other faith traditions talk about that, but what I was saying is just in Genesis itself, it's not clear. Yeah. Let's see. The word Nod means wandering, cool. The curse of Ham, there is a curse of Ham. That's different. Um, but there's also the Cain. Yeah, like the mark of Cain. Let's see. Alrighty. We're gonna go over to. Well, look at this number. You know, 86. My goodness. Let's 86 this. All right. This is the fall of angels and the demoralization of mankind. So he sees again a star falls from heaven, it arises and pastured and eats with the oxen, which is pretty weird, right? Can you imagine you're like a cow and you're just hanging out in a pasture, just chewing, and then a star falls down next to you, and you're like, wow, what is this? And then the star starts eating the grass, and you're like, okay, guess it's one of us. Interesting. So after that, he sees the large and black oxen. Behold, they change their stalls and pastures their cattle and begin to live with each other. And I saw in the vision and looked towards heaven. And behold, I saw many stars descend and cast themselves. So of course, the stars here are going to be the watchers, not literally stars. But I'm just trying to think of like how Enoch, like what did Enoch see? Like, does the star have a mouth? Does it like roll? Like that movie Critters? Did you guys ever see that movie? I can't believe I just thought of that. This like 80s terrible horror movie, but like that ball of the critters where they like would roll over a body, like a person or an animal or something, and then there would be like this like moving skeleton that was that where they had rolled over it. That's what I'm seeing. That's it. The star is now the critter ball. That's what Enoch must have seen. So here they are intermingling with the people. It does appear that the bulls do represent people. And I looked to them and saw, and behold, they all let out their privy members like horses and began to cover the cows of the oxen. They began pregnant and bear elephants, camels, and asses. In this case, we're talking about donkeys. And all the oxen feared them and were affrighted at them and began to bite with their teeth and to devour and to gore with their horns. And they began, moreover, to devour these oxen. Terrible quake, earth shakes, blah, blah, blah. So this is, again, just what we read about way back in the first video, where we were talking about, maybe the second video, after the Watchers had bred with the humans, they ended up having these gigantic kids. And remember, the giants here are literal giants that are 3 kilometers tall. So they are not like, oh, they're just kind of big for that day. And because they're so big, they're super ravenous. They destroyed the entire town's food supply and then started eating the people because they were just hungry, not necessarily cruel. And that's what they're talking about here. So even though it's a star and a bull or a cow that's having children, they're not giving birth to star cows or stars or cows. They're giving birth to elephants, for example. So something totally unnatural for what that combination should otherwise intuitively provide. Let's see. I don't know if that's about Cain. It's still a redemptive myth. Well, remember, this is flood. Like, this is for Enoch. He's telling Methuselah, and then Methuselah begets Noah, right? So that's how that goes. Noah and Methuselah. Let me just double check that because it might be the other way around. Yeah, Enoch is Noah's grandfather. Okay, so Enoch has Methuselah, Methuselah has Noah. So this is before Noah probably even exist, definitely before he's old enough to have all his kids. So Enoch is seeing how the earth began. He's not seeing and like why there will be a flood. And that's another thing that's very interesting about the Book of Enoch is it's supposedly predicting the Great Flood that was talked about in Genesis, even though Genesis was written much earlier. So that is an interesting uh, timeline, but the that's the idea here. So this destruction that Enoch saw, he's telling Methuselah. So Methuselah knows. Listen, I asked God to keep uh, our lineage safe. Please keep this prayer in the family. Please tell your kids and your kids' kids and all this stuff about it. So Methuselah would probably tell Noah. Noah is just a regular dude. He's just not like interbreeding with the Watchers at this time because he's too busy being an alcoholic and a terrible father, right in Genesis. So this idea of like the curse of Ham from an origin story, this is too early for that. Like Ham doesn't even exist. Noah probably doesn't exist at this time either. So it is going to probably refer to Cain for sure. I saw the movie Critters. I was just thinking of that. Oh my goodness. Flash of light hits the ground, and then the oxen appear. But it looks like it's just the flash of light just kind of hangs out. There's this big light source just hanging out. I vaguely remember watching Critters on HBO. That is a good time. Critters is a weird one. I saw a falling star this morning. Unfortunately, it didn't start eating grass. I feel like I got ripped off. You certainly did. I'm sorry. I guess Yahweh just doesn't love you enough to give you this information. Attack on Titan, the Nephilim, right. These angels definitely knew what they were doing. Jealousy breeds hatred. I don't know if they were jealous though. That's the thing. They weren't jealous or hateful. They fell in love. The Watcher's job was to keep watch over the humans. That was their job. It was just to watch the goings on for Earth and just kind of almost in a way like be the shepherds, you know, just like, oh, if the humans start doing something weird, notify Yahweh. And then they just ended up just falling in love with them, and they thought these are awesome little guys, and so they went there and not only had reproduced with them, but they lived with them. They loved them. Like they married women, they shared knowledge that they had. They wanted to give this information to the humans so the human civilization could progress. So things like metallurgy, and knowledge of like plants in the sense of like stuff that can hurt you or help you like medicinally. So this is, yeah, they definitely weren't jealous or angry or hateful. They really like fell in love with the humans. Noah is the new father. Um, let's see. Lemon has known me not biblically while she lived. Now she's talking my language. And then you're complaining about atheism. So this was automatically hidden. I am just gonna leave it hidden just so we don't get too sidetracked. We're talking about the Book of Enoch. Please try to keep it on track because you guys know how easy it is for me to derail. Yeah, I'd be a critique enjoying God if I heard a prayer like, oh, ye who actually hasn't done anything impressive recently, that person would get their wish. Right. I mean, you want to get feedback from your creation, right? It's odd because Jesus did the same thing with teaching people. I think it's different. The reason that Yahweh was so mad was because he said the information that you Watchers had was not complete, and that was for a reason. And so when you gave this incomplete knowledge to humans, actually you messed everything up. They weren't supposed to have the knowledge anyway, because Yahweh is very upset when humans know things. They weren't supposed to have it anyway, but now when you gave it to them, this is incomplete. Like they're gonna hurt themselves with this. So that was what he was saying. Yeah. I prefer the microphone closer. This is better. The volume's fine. So what, is this okay? Or is this what you're talking about? A? B? Which one? Who polices the police? I don't know, the Coast Guard? Again, not sure what relevancy that has, but I guess in this case, um, would be Yahweh, I guess. Uh, I'm not sure what you're talking about there with this. Seems a bit possibly funky, so we're just gonna remove that message. Okay. Um, not sure what you're doing here, Neeb, but I want to try to stay on track. Otherwise, you're gonna be sent on your way. Okay. Remember, we do want to use minor safe language as well. B is better. Okay. Well, then we'll do B. Is it still centered? We're still okay. We're still okay here. All right. It's just weird, like with my spine. That's all. But I'm sure just use a good stretch. All right. We're gonna go over to the advent of the seven archangels. This is great. Probably not advent calendar, right? But we got an advent. Okay. Nice time. Let me make sure this is all centered appropriately. I think we'll be good here. All right. And again, I saw how they began to gore each other. We're doing good though. Enoch has not fainted yet. And devour each other, the earth began to cry aloud, and I raised mine eyes again to heaven, and I saw in the vision, and behold, there came forth from heaven beings who were like white men. We talked about this last time. We're talking about like shining dudes, not like Caucasian, like those guys. We talked about this and how, unfortunately, some misinterpretations of old religious writings has been part of racist beliefs. And 4 went forth from that place, and 3 with them. And those 3 that had last come forth grasped me by my hand, took me up away from the generations of the earth, and raised me to a lofty place, showed me a tower raised high above earth, all the hills lower. Look at all this nonsense here, Enoch. That's what they're saying. Enoch's got an interesting thought process, because this would have been better, I think, at the beginning of the book. This just seems like a lot of rehashing, doesn't it? We were already here. The punishment of the fallen angels by the archangels. So again, they're talking about the 4 angels. They're being cast into the abyss. All of the mutant animals began to attack each other. The earth was quaking because they're just so honking big. And I watched everything, and everything was not great. They got killed. Bad times. They're bound. They're thrown into the abyss. So again, this is the same stuff we saw from the original, like the first video that I did, where they're just the Watchers being punished. So again, just a little weird to see it so late in the book, as if we're being told this information for the first time. I mean, wouldn't Methuselah have heard this or read this? Why do we have to have this whole separate chapter about him doing this? Seems a bit odd. Let's see. So, okay, we can't use that kind of word. So I know you're saying Twitter, but we don't want to use the alternate word there. Just again, you want to keep this minor safe language. Yeah. Planning to go to ROK and to Taiwan 2 years ago, and here we are. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of people's plans really got halted with this unfortunate pandemic that we're in and the mismanagement thereof. So the knowledge is incomplete. Well, that explains why there's so much violence. I mean, that's what they try to explain, right? But one of the sacred bits of knowledge was like makeup. How could that be bad? Like, who's gonna mess up makeup that bad, right? When I talked about the redemptive myth, I was talking about the meta narrative, the myth of redemptive violence, which Western culture got from Sumer, as far as I can remember. I see what you're saying. Okay, I thought you were talking about the mark itself, so I totally misunderstood. All right, so the angels now, they're punished. We've got this great deluge. Okay. And so this is him talking about Noah, which again is this like grandson. I'm not even sure if he's alive at the same time. But now we're just talking about it with bulls, okay? So this isn't something that I found particularly interesting to read to you guys, just because it's really the same stuff that we've heard about. We're talking about the height of the water, and the basically the most interesting thing, at least from my perspective, is just that discussion of the where the water's coming from. So remember, this is that idea of a flat Earth with a dome. It's got edges to it, and so you can open up the dome and put water in, and then water can like fall off of the edges if we allow it to. Parts of the earth will open up and allow water to fall out of the enclosure from below. So this is kind of where it's at. And oh, there's a vessel, and that's floating while everybody else is suffering and dying. Not not super great. There was an interesting difference that we read about before, at least that I thought was interesting, and that was this idea that Noah didn't build the enclosure. It wasn't a boat that Noah had built. That it is an enclosure, so it could just be like a big old box or something, and it was there for Noah and his family. So it could be that um, this was put there by the angels, constructed by Yahweh, something along those lines, and Noah actually didn't have any, part in it. He was just allowed entrance into that. So again, as I mentioned about the earth opening up, and that's where a lot of that water had gone. So there are some people that are like young Earth creationists who believe in like a literal flood. I guess even old Earth creationists believe in some of them believe in a literal flood that really flooded the whole Earth, not like a local flood, for example. And they try to explain, oh, this is where all that water could have gone. Because when you calculate how much water is stuck in our water cycle, it doesn't add up to what the Bible says. And so they try to explain, well, this is where it could go, and this is where whatever, whatever. This is where it goes. There's a flat earth, and there's parts that are opening up in the bottom of the earth, and then it leaks out of the enclosure. That's where the water goes. So if you guys ever encounter some type of apologist that is trying to say, oh yeah, this is, it could have been evaporated and burned off, or something about old atmosphere, what, you don't even have to go there. This is what it was talking about. This is mentioned in Genesis as well, that the abyss opens up and the water escapes through there, but it's not as obviously flat earthy as we're talking here. I remember that was something my father had mentioned. He said, the water didn't evaporate. It went into the caverns of the deep. And so his idea is that instead of the water going up and evaporating and becoming part of the atmosphere, excuse me, his idea is that there's trenches, and that's where the water just like hangs out down there. And so this is why we don't necessarily count it as part of our water cycle water, because it's just going to be down there hidden away from us. But that's where he says, yeah, the Bible says the caverns opened up, and that's where it goes. So you can point that out even if somebody doesn't follow the book of Enoch. Let's see what you guys are saying. You should be reading the Epic Chronos, or the Epic of Chronos. I do want to, we are going to stick first with like these apocryphal texts. The ones like the ones that I was mentioning earlier. And then after that, we can definitely go into other stuff. Chronos was a titan. Yeah, he was a titan. Knowledge is not incompatible when the sources are not credible or facts. Yeah, or no, knowledge is not incomplete. Sorry, when the sources are not credible or facts. Cain then dwelt in the land of Nod, where he built a city. Okay, thank you. Did he found Canaan? That was his thing. He went to Nod and founded the land, like Canaan, right? I'm trying to remember how the two. I think I have to. Once I'm finished with the Quran again, I think I'm gonna do a re through for the Bible. Flood day was a busy day for the blue collar dome angels for sure. These like these factory angels do 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 water coming in. you know. Let's see. The proto Big Daddy Kronos, right? The jealous of the jealous, eating them babies. All right. So from the death of Noah to the Exodus, which, by the way, I hope you guys don't think the Exodus happened. I hope you guys know that there's no evidence to support that at all for anything. Because there are some people that are actually surprised to learn that, because biblical history is taught as if it's history, So this is something we found that's like people just take it for granted that, oh, yeah, this is a thing that was true. And even though there's some supernatural stuff, okay, maybe that happened, maybe that didn't, but the rest of it was true, and they just kind of take that for granted, and it's not the case. Um, let's see. So they bring forth the beasts of the field and all of that awesome stuff. Arose different genera, so we're talking about the kinds here. Lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, swine, falcons, vultures, kites, which is a type of bird, eagles, and ravens. And among them was born a white bull. And then they began to bite each other. But the white bull, which was born amongst them, begat a wild donkey and a white bull with it, and the donkeys multiplied. But the bull, which was born from, begat a wild boar and a white sheep, and they begat many boars, begat 12 sheep, and the 12 and the 12 and the 12. And so here we're talking about not the literal animals that populated the earth after the flood. These are still part of that dream vision, and so they're going to be representing like the different tribes, and that they fight each other, they go off to split up, that kind of stuff. The Lord brings 11 sheep to pasture with the wolves. And again, it's difficult to want to read this because when we were reading through the way that the sun was supposed to work with the dome and the divisions, that seemed a bit clunky for a lot of you guys to follow. So essentially, this is people having a bad time. Okay, so the sheep are having a bad time, and eventually the Lord is helping the sheep, and the sheep are escaping the wolves and all of that good stuff. But again, it's such a weird way to, assuming Enoch already knew some of these stories, it is kind of weird to talk about them this way. He was so specific and helpful to people of that time, in his specificity, but he was so specific about how the stars and stuff opened, or the windows open up to let the stars and everything in. And so just for him to have this very, I don't even know if it's really mystical or anything. It's just more like, oh, instead of saying the Hebrews, he's saying the sheep. It just seems very, I mean, unless you guys are specifically interested in this type of thing, it's not really going to help us with the understanding of this book of Enoch. Yeah. So the wolves in this case are the Egyptians, and so that's it. And what the only part of this I think is very interesting is just when the Lord of the sheep, which is Yahweh, he has a face that is dazzling and glorious and terrible to behold. So it strikes terror in you, not that it's ugly. So that's, again, if somebody loves you, they shouldn't terrify you. It's not something you should feel. I imagine biozoologist Adam spending the multilennia naming all the life forms. Yeah, I know, right? Someone calculated, was it Vice? I think it was Vice Rhino that calculated how long it would take. It's something like, I don't remember the exact number, but it's rapid fire for sure. Well, I do believe in Hollow Earth. And they did find an ocean of water under the earth. Again, that might be something to link. Um, but so that this would, I guess, be consistent with what you do believe. Machiavellian, love and fear the Lord. Yeah, no doubt. Narcissistian, I think for sure. Love me, but know I can end you, and respect that and fear that. Like, that's such a narcissist. So the sheep have now escaped the wolves, which is they've now escaped the Israelites, and oh no, it's time to wander the desert. And so the Lord of the sheep, um, he's again appearing to at this time Moses, and he's got his great and terrible majestic, and they were all scared of him and they trembled before him. There's Enoch again fallen down, at least he believes other people do. We are not able to stand before our Lord or to behold him. Do you imagine that? Can you imagine like you show up to a place and everybody that sees you like collapses and they don't pass out, but they're just like, "Oh, you're so amazing." And that's what the Yahweh guy wants. Like he wants that just to incapacitate anybody that sees him, which I guess is an interesting power. I'm trying to think of like a D&D character, and you could have something like your god or something, and then like fear of that god, and then you could cast some spell or something. I don't know why. I feel like a bard would do something like that. That would be very bardy, you know? You're just like in the middle of a battle or something, and then you cast fear of whatever god, and then suddenly all the, uh, they like all lose a turn or something because they've collapsed in your awesome terribleness or something. It just seems like such a weird. It seems like a weapon, not a show of one's majesty. It just seems aggressive, right? Even your physical presence throws people to the ground. I just what a again. This is such a like a narcissist thing. It is, and I know I keep saying that, but it's just keeps popping up. Yeah, the Oramus of anime reaction. That's for sure, right? The new girl like walks into the classroom and all the boys fall down, right? That's definitely, yeah. That's okay. It's okay that you're late to class. If you show up early at the party, if you show up at the party and everyone collapses as you get there, it probably means they did some recreational things and there aren't any left. It could be. It could be. Or, I mean, I would take it like negatively. Like, do I smell that bad? Do I look that bad? What's going on? But Yahweh likes it. And again, I feel like it's a very aggressive trait to have that people like showing up to your creation. Like I guess I'm the god of my cat, right? Because I provide a place and food and whatever. I would not want my cat to like freak out when it sees me. That would fill me with sadness and make me feel terrible. Or vice versa, because really the cats are the gods and we're just serving them, right? I wouldn't want to freak out in front of them, and the cats wouldn't want that either. Because sometimes, cats want the affection when they feel like it, right? Um, I just feel like that's such a weird quality for a god that seems just so hateful of your creation, right? So, anyway, so the sheep are having a hard time, and the Lord of the Sheep gets mad at them, wrathful exceedingly. And I mean, when you're an all-powerful deity, that's everything. Yeah. So they're again scared. They want to just like go back to their normal life, and they get slain. Not a good time. And then eventually we get a house built for the Lord, which I'm assuming is just going to be a tabernacle, right? And so again, we're just talking about the Exodus story um through the filter of sheep for some reason. I don't know how this is supposed to be helpful or beneficial. Um it doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't I don't know. So from the time of Judges till the building of the temple, and sometimes their eyes were open, sometimes they were blinded until another sheep arose and led them and brought them back, and all of their eyes were open. So now they have come back to their religious beliefs, and they're being attacked. However, the Lord is protecting them, and so He's attacking. So now the Hebrews or the Israelites, they are able to fight back. So that is great. So the Lord of the sheep sent the lamb to another lamb, and it raised it to being the ram of the leader of the sheep instead of the ram which has forsaken its glory. Blah blah blah. And again, there's basically like a chosen leader that is being talked about. That's really it. This is again stories that you guys probably know from the Bible. I don't think it's giving us any extra stuff. Part of the fun of reading the apocryphal text is to kind of get another view of something, or oh, now that's actually explained. Like, why was Noah righteous when he was an abusive, like, alcoholic? How is that a righteous guy in God's eyes? And really, he's righteous just because his DNA didn't get corrupted and he didn't interact with the Watchers, so he didn't receive any of their special knowledge. That's all that makes him righteous. So that helps us kind of clarify it. Otherwise, like just rehashing Bible stories, I don't think that's really helpful to us. So, again, we're just going to kind of jump through here. Most of this is going to be that, and then we end here with the second period from the time of Cyrus to that of Alexander the Great. But again, we're still talking about shepherds, we're still talking about sheep. That's kind of it. So I don't think this chapter is super, super helpful for us. Is this where we're stopping? Are we stopping at 90? Double check. It is where we're stopping. All right. Let me just double check. But again, we're not, yeah. This is just like the Old Testament. So for those of you that have to do any kind of review for your Bible class, then do your studying, come read these two chapters, and if you're like, oh yeah, that's supposed to represent King David, oh yeah, that's supposed to represent Moses, you are ready for your exam. Because that's all we're getting here. That's really, really all we're getting. So we are getting the New Jerusalem, the conversion, the surviving Gentiles, the resurrection of the righteous, and the Messiah. But again, it's just sheep. They're all clothed in white. We got the three angels that are clothed in white. They're again taking him down. The sheep are also white. Everything is bright and shining, and we're rejoicing with great joy and all of that good action here. So then we have the lamb, and that apparently is going to be the Messiah. It became a great animal with great black horns on its head. The Lord of sheep rejoiced over it and over the oxen. And that's kind of it, right? That's the Messiah. You know, remember what we said about, or what has been said about prophecy has to be specific? That ain't it. Okay, this is what not specific prophecy looks like. So that is going to be the end there. Again, if you want to go through it and say, oh yeah, I recognize this story, or oh, this is probably talking about Jericho or something. It's a great way to review your knowledge of the Bible. But other than that, not super helpful to discuss. But I just wanted to mention that it is here. See what you guys are saying. Can you guys hear that, by the way? That sound, the ring, 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 ring. Eventually it'll ring. That is just a very loud cicada. Yahweh's got it like that. He makes people faint just by being there thinking to himself, oh yeah, I'm awesome. Maybe they're fainting because he's just like insufferable. I guess he literally is insufferable, isn't he? Reminds me a bit of televangelist preachers sending a wave of energy down to their congregation, making them all fall down. Was that a Benny Hinn? Benny Hinn? Benny Hinn. I was confused. Hinn and Hill. Benny Hinn. I was in attendance to one of those. Yeah. Dogs can be pretty excited to see their owner return. Right. Imagine if your dog collapsed when you saw it. That would be horrifying. Cats definitely do own us. Yes. Alexander the Great is an interesting fellow. He is definitely like a Greece otaku for sure. The same story but told with sheep, essentially. Essentially. I don't know what value that was. Like, hey Methuselah, come here, let daddy tell you a story. So there's these sheep, right? You know, black horns, yeah, it's pretty interesting. It sounds like it makes me remember Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, that's true because they do have that a lot. Just like Shinji walking around outside, you hear that. Yeah, that is definitely the sound of summer for sure. All right, so we are ending here. Um, if you guys just want a free chat, we can do that for maybe 30 to 60 minutes or something in just another immediately following video. So it's 8:25 for me, but whatever time it is for you, it should still be 25 unless you're in North Korea, in which case, welcome. So at 30, let's go ahead and come back and we'll just have a chat. Why not? Just to waste some time. Grab a snack, go to the bathroom, get some water, all of that good stuff. I will see you guys in a second. All of that niceness and other ways to end a stream. Okay.